Hey, happy Christmas Eve.
Merry Christmas.
Sleigh bells ring.
Yep.
Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Walking in a winter wonderland. What do you got over there? What's this here?
Well, I think
table?
we're doing our annual Christmas gift exchange.
Ooh, are we?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
boy. I hope this isn't a one-way street.
I loved my presents. Oh, yeah. Okay. I guess I should have told you about this. I just assumed you would know.
I hope we all brought gifts for each other.
I'd like this to go better than it did last year for me, but we'll see how it goes. How about you open? How about you open your present first, Al Rumsfeld?
All right. Okay. Let's see here. All right. It's a rectangle. You hear that? Nicely wrapped.
My live-in barber did that.
I had a feeling.
Spoiler alert: not a laser disc.
Not a laser disc. It's giving book. I have a feeling it's a book. Is it a Charles Grodin book?
It is not.
Oh, it's not. Okay. All right. You did just call me Donald Rumsfeld, so let's see. Oh, wow. Okay. We got The Last Action Heroes, the triumphs, flops, and feuds of Hollywood's kings of carnage. Holy cow. You guys should see the cover of this. This cover art is absolutely incredible.
It is.
I'm showing it to our producer right now.
It is a pretty amazing cover. And from what I've heard, it's a pretty amazing book right up your alley, I think.
Wow. This actually looks like a lot of fun. Thanks, Jimmy.
You're welcome.
Thanks. I can't wait to read it. It's a hardcover too.
It is.
And it looks like, looks like you paid $28.99 for it.
Maybe. I couldn't say.
Money ain't a thing.
I didn't mean to leave the receipt on the inside. Who's on the cover there? How many action stars do we have from the 80s there?
No, we got the Terminator. We got Chuck Norris and Van Damme, Bruce Willis, Steven Seagal. We got Jackie Chan.
I think it's going to be a pretty good time. Probably even better with cocaine.
Wow. Well, that could be true.
But kids don't do drugs.
Definitely not. Definitely not. It'll kill you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jimmy. Looks great. I love this.
Hope you'll like it.
All right. Enough's enough. I did actually bring you a gift. So here you go.
Here we go. Your wrapping is newspaper. Nice.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Hey, you know what? Whatever you got to use is what works. So we've got a little envelope here. Should I open this first?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, you can open whichever one you want first.
Is this
Amazon? Just because it's smaller doesn't mean it's worse.
It's wrapped in a paper lunch sack, looks like. I'm getting gift card vibes from this one.
Okay.
Desert Storm trading cards. We've got Desert Storm trading. There are 8 cards in here, 1 sticker produced by Topps and sponsored by Dick Cheney. That's
big time.
That's
loved
lovely.
those. You loved those Heroes of Iraq cards so much last year. I thought, well, why not get you some cards from the first Iraq War? We did so good in that one.
Yep.
We thought, let's play 2.
Yeah. That was
I gave you the sequel last year, but here's the original, and these are not playing cards; these are trading cards.
Yes.
And don't be precious about them. You should open those up.
Let me open these up. Let me see who we got here.
Yeah.
If Colin Powell is not in this, H-64 Apache helicopter.
Oh yeah, the Apache.
Britain's Tornado. Also, well, that's a jet. Tau anti-tank guns. No famous figures though. Oh, shoot. Except this one. Here we go.
Who'd you get?
General Richard G. Graves.
Ooh.
I don't recognize that name, but I'm glad I got one at least.
Look at him. He's nice. Now, what sticker did you get?
48th Infantry. Motto Dragoon. I don't know what that means, but it sounds important.
Cool. Well, they helped win that one.
Thank you so much for that, Dick Cheney.
You're very welcome. There's one more here.
All right. One more present. Looks like a VHS tape. Sounds like a VHS tape. Mr. Mom, written by John Hughes.
That's right.
Disowned by John Hughes, but still written by him.
Still written by him.
Yep.
He can't take it back.
Yep.
His name's right on the sleeve.
I do not have this on VHS.
Hey, terrific.
I thank you greatly for that. I
enjoy that.
Really appreciate it.
It's a nice shape, too.
Hey, you know what? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I think we have a show to do.
All right.
I'll be back in a little bit.
Okay.
Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. What Christmas song starts like that?
It's a Wonderful Life.
Might be. Well, this is a Long Road Home Alone.
Yeah.
And here we are back again.
It's Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
The snow is in the air. The tree is up in the studio. The lights are ablaze around it.
Yeah, really hot.
Yeah.
Really, really dangerously hot lights.
Yeah.
We are working. It's Christmas Eve and late, honestly, too. Santa is on his way or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's late somewhere. It's early here. Anyway, we're back.
Late in China.
We're back again. We're here. We're working. And I'm Joey Z.
I'm Jimmy Dantes.
That's right.
I'm very happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad to see you, Jimmy. Before we get started, and you know what? Happy Christmas to all who celebrate.
Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, whatever.
If you're tuning in.
If you're tuning in from Europe, say Happy Christmas, because nobody says that in the States. Why are you even saying that to me?
Anyway, I'm from Wisconsin.
Nobody says
no
Happy
one doubts
Christmas
that.
in Wisconsin. No true Wisconsinian.
I wanted to clear some things up. I just want to clear the air before we get started here. We had talked last week or the week before about old Bob De Niro. A little bit of Al Pacino in there too, right? We're kind of comparing, contrasting. Who do you like? Who do you like more? I think we're kind of both landing on the preferring Pacino side.
As far as performances go, hang out with him at a bar, I'd go Bob De Niro all the way. I bet that guy's a lovely dude to hang out. Pacino, maybe not so much.
I don't even dare guess. I don't happen to know either of them.
That's true.
Yet. But I did want to say that I thought about it a little bit. I thought about how prolific De Niro is, everything he's been in, and everything I've seen him in. I did think of one film, and in fact, it's a Scorsese film, where I really like De Niro, and I feel like he
made the film for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he made the film for me. Do you know what it is?
Cape Fear.
It's Cape Fear.
Is it?
It's Cape Fear.
I've never seen that one.
Yeah.
It does, for everything I know about it, it feels very much like that is not what De Niro normally does.
No. He's really good in it.
Yeah.
He's really good. He's playing who plays that character in the original, Robert Mitchum, I think, who's also scary. And Scorsese's Cape Fear isn't a movie that I particularly love. And in fact, I really like the original.
Yeah.
And so the remake doesn't do a lot for me, but hell, De Niro's really good in it.
De Niro's good in it.
He's good in it.
Was that one considered a success for Scorsese, or was... I feel like that one kind of got mixed reviews, similar to King of Comedy. It was kind of like, yeah, you're going outside of your lane, Scorsese.
I feel like, don't anyone paint me an authority on this, but I kind of feel like that was one that he did for the studio. Sort of like one for the business side and one for me.
The Soderbergh model.
Yeah.
Yep.
I also think, and here again, look, I'm just postulating, no slander here. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. Let's say I would not be surprised if I was told that everybody on that movie was high on cocaine.
Yeah.
Because
it was the 80s.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And Marty did that, the last waltz about the band, and they were all on coke. I think Marty was maybe, doing a little bit of the there for a little while.
Cocaine's the drug you snort it, right?
Yeah, you insufflate it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, or I suppose you could eat it.
I don't do drugs. Yeah.
Smoke it? I don't know.
Never done any drugs in my life.
Yeah. Well, when you're rich, it's not illegal.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Anyway, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about Peter McCallister, patriarch of the Chicago McCallister family.
Mr. McCallister who lives here.
Yep, that's him.
Well, we've talked about Peter in the past. We've talked about some of his personality traits. We've sort of contrasted him with Kate as a parent.
Yep.
We talked about him recently in the context of privilege, his attitude towards others. But we've never exactly really cracked the nut.
No, I don't think
on Peter himself.
I don't think we've dug into his roots at all either. We know he comes from Ohio and we know his two brothers, but that's about it.
I want to point out we don't know that he comes from Ohio.
I think we do.
We don't.
That's true.
I think we've made some assumptions along the way. We've said, well, between the three brothers, it's probably likeliest that Frank didn't move away. And we know that Frank is hailing from Ohio.
Yeah.
We don't know that Peter and his brothers grew up in Ohio.
This is true.
I'm willing to accept that as a premise and work from it.
But I will say it's not a fact. This is speculation totally, but I do believe that Peter, Rob, and Frank grew up in Ohio. I get those vibes from those characters for that reason.
I'm willing to operate on that premise.
Whether or not it's fact, that's sort of how I feel about it. And if you disagree, fine. What do you think he does for a living?
I thought about this a little bit. First, let me say what I think he's probably not. I think he's probably not a lawyer or a doctor or a CEO or business owner of some sort. I'm not getting those vibes from Peter. And also, I'm getting the sense from him that his career, whatever it is, doesn't consume his life. I think that he seems to have some pretty clear boundaries. He doesn't seem stressed about getting away overseas for the holidays. I think that perhaps he's some sort of executive in finance, private equity, asset management, consulting, hedge funds, something like that.
The novelization does say specifically that he is wearing a business shirt and tie, which has led a lot of people to believe that he is just some sort of generic businessman. I don't know. I kind of take a different tack on that. I feel like, given the evidence we have around the house, all of the tools, all of the construction materials, we have tar in the basement, we have a blowtorch. Kevin is incredibly crafty in ways that most kids aren't. I would not be surprised if Peter is a general contractor, started his own business, and worked his way up. This guy came from working class roots and worked his way up knowing the things he got from his upbringing.
I mean, we can presume that the McCallisters are incredibly wealthy, but a general contractor in the right part of the country, in Winnetka, in that area, that affluent area of Chicagoland, could really make himself quite wealthy.
Yeah. You moved to Chicago. I would imagine that he and Kate met in college. I do believe Kate is a fashion designer or in some way related to the fashion industry. She's got her own career. And so I think they stayed in Chicago for that, because Chicago actually is known for a sect of the fashion industry. And yeah, he's just repairing homes in Chicago in the 80s.
Oh, now, wait a minute. Repairing?
Well, not repairing, renovating.
Or building.
He could be building too. That's possible. I mean,
when you say he's a general contractor, that makes me think he is a builder. He's hiring the pros, the experts to do the specific things. But a general contractor is oftentimes from the ground up, maybe working with the architect of the people who are building the house, right? Talking to the customers, the clients about this build, hiring the right people to do it, negotiating contracts, and making a tidy sum. I don't think he's out there rehanging doors or fixing windows.
I think renovations in particular. You live in this affluent neighborhood where people move in there and they say, I don't want this looking the way the previous owner had it. I've got my own vision about how this house is gonna look while I'm living there. I think he does that kind of stuff.
And money is no object.
Yep. You do this job, you're going to be able to afford any mansion in Winnetka that you want, Peter McCallister.
Kate, did you by any chance pick up the voltage adapter thing?
No, I didn't have time to do that.
Well, how am I supposed to shave in France?
Grow a goatee.
Dad, nobody let me do anything.
Bye.
You don't have anything to do? I got something for you to do. You can pick up those micro machines that are all over in there. Aunt Leslie stepped on one and almost broke her neck.
He was in the garage again playing with the glue gun.
Didn't we talk about that?
Okay. So I like your thought there. I think it's plausible. I think the only thing that doesn't quite track for me is that for him to have built his wealth as a business owner from the ground up, I think he's done that awfully quickly for a man who's relatively young. I mean, his eldest child is a teenager, but I think the McCallisters are mid 40s at their oldest.
And do you get the sense that he comes from wealth? Why, is that how you feel about it? I do get the sense that Kate comes from wealth. I don't get that from Peter. I think Peter was a little gruffer. I think he has a gruffer background. And so maybe if that's the case, he's got to work a little harder from the ground up to impress this lady who came from wealth. Yeah. On top of that, he's got 5 kids.
Or she could, I mean, Kate could be an incredibly successful trial attorney or a corporate attorney.
It's possible.
I know that the novelization postulates that she works in fashion, but I don't think it's canon. I think he took some creative liberties, and I think it's conceivable that she either comes from money or is self-made.
Yeah. We've also said this before. The novelization is not canon. So if you see...
Right. It says Peter's, that they live in...
Oak Park.
Oak Park.
Peter has black hair. Kevin has brown hair, and he's 7 years old.
It's freaking fan fiction is what it is.
The one thing from the novelization that I do think might be true, I discovered what the dog's name was.
Oh.
And it is Ralphie. Which is a direct reference to A Christmas Story. So I'm going to say Ralphie as the dog. I think that's canon. It fits the Chris Columbus directorial style, infusing as much Christmas into the scenes as you can.
It doesn't, there's no conflict there. So I'll accept it.
All right.
I think maybe you're right. I think that maybe Peter is in business for himself. I have a theory. I have a theory about their upbringing. I think that Peter and his brother's grandfather, paternal grandfather, was a bootlegger. I think they grew up in Toledo. I think their family's from Toledo. I think their grandfather was a bootlegger during Prohibition. I think he was a Great Lakes shipper. And he was smuggling booze into the USA.
And for those of you who don't know, Lake St. Clair, which is the lake right next to Detroit, there was a lot of bootleg whiskey coming across that lake, especially in the winter.
Big time. The Purple Gang of Detroit was sort of the main Detroit gang at that time. They were big into bootlegging. And there was some Irish organized crime in Toledo at the time. I think Jack Kennedy, no relation to the Massachusetts Kennedys, I don't think. But he was murdered. He was murdered by the Italian mob.
Wow.
And so I think maybe there could have been some maybe McCallisters got run out of Toledo and sort of made their way across the state to be closer to Chicago and get in on the Chicago crime.
Yeah.
Now, I think if that is true, I think Peter's father went legit.
Yeah.
I think he didn't approve of his father's business, the lifestyle, and I think he lived more modestly. But even so, I think there's potential. I think it's possible that the grandkids, Peter, Frank, and Rob, they might have still benefited. They might have had like a trust or some bonds or some hidden cash, or at least maybe those old mob ties afforded the grandkids some private education or some good college or maybe even some connections.
Maybe Peter sees his grandfather living large in Detroit. His father moves to Ohio, not doing so good, living in coal country, Ohio. And he decides, you know what? Grandpa had it figured out.
Grandpa was right.
Yeah.
Dad was a sap. He raised us.
Yep.
He turned his back on all that wealth and riches and opportunity to be a Quaker or something.
Yeah. And this pulls us into what is a popular Home Alone conspiracy theory that Peter does have ties to organized crime, which there's further evidence for. If you've ever seen The Sopranos, John Hurd plays a corrupt FBI agent in the first season of Sopranos. I could very much see Peter McCallister becoming who this character is.
Ooh, okay. So maybe there's some world crossover there.
I think so.
Same universe, perhaps?
Yeah.
Hell, if he works in construction, that's a classic mob environment, right?
Yep.
You've got construction fraud or something like that. I mean, maybe he's dabbling a little bit, and it could point at why he's so, maybe it's not fully his thing, but he's a little amoral about it, and he takes some money here and there, and he does some untoward things. And maybe that's why he seems a little nervous when Joe Pesci. Am I under arrest or something?
Yeah.
Why would you be?
Why would you be concerned about that?
What makes you think that?
You're an upstanding citizen, allegedly.
Aren't you?
What would you have been arrested for?
Right. Okay. I think that's...
There's some credence to maybe Peter has some ties to the criminal underworld.
I think it's possible.
John Hurd. What do you know about the man?
I mean, I know he had a long career. I feel like he was always on the periphery of true stardom. He took himself very seriously as an actor. I think he started as a stage actor. And I actually heard a quote from him recently. I don't remember where.
Well, not too recently.
No, but I heard it recently. But it was a quote from him from many years ago when he was alive. Mm-hmm. But he said, I don't really have any regrets, but my career could have gone better. And then he said, my father would have said, you really dropped the ball. That's what he said about his own career.
That's unfortunate. I did get the sense, listening to the audio commentary and hearing Macaulay Culkin and Chris Columbus talk about him.
Yeah.
I know Chris Columbus specifically cast him in the role because he thought John Hurd was a phenomenal actor, specifically because of his role in the movie Cutter's Way.
Yes.
He plays a one-eyed Vietnam vet who is he's a mess. Yeah. But that's all I know about it.
Yeah. He's very disabled. Mm-hmm. He can't really get around, and he's a horrible alcoholic.
Yes.
And he's just a loose cannon. He's got a death wish.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant performance. It's a strange film. Mm-hmm. He's acting alongside Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sort of get the sense, too, from those two talking to each other, like he didn't understand why he was there. He did Home Alone for the paycheck, and that was it. And while he was on set, you sort of get the sense that he felt ashamed and he felt a little jealous that there's this little kid who's the star of the show and he has to, play second fiddle as an adult who's been doing this since his entire life. I got the sense that Joe Pesci felt a little bit that way about Macaulay Culkin too on the set of Home Alone. This guy who just won an Oscar for the best performance of his life is now playing second fiddle to some little kid who's 8 years old. And I don't know, that's probably got to do a little bit to your ego as an actor, whether or not it's grounded in anything and whether or not it even says anything about your talent.
I think that if that is true about John Hurd and any of it comes through in his performance, and I don't know if it does, but if it does, if part of that performance is that, it plays very well.
Yeah. The only film that I've actually seen John Hurd in other than Home Alone is Big, which is this movie starring Tom Hanks, where he wishes that he was big one night. He wakes up in the morning and all of a sudden he's Tom Hanks. He's this kid just grown into this body all of a sudden, and he gets drafted into the army during World War II as a captain. As a kid, you go across the seas, storm the beaches of Normandy, learn a few things about the horrors of life, and then you come back home and realize, being so short wasn't such a bad thing.
And John Hurd plays
Himmler, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Himmler or Mengele, was it? Joseph Mengele? One of the two. Yeah, great film. Check it out.
Those boys in Brazil.
Big.
Yeah, it sounds big.
Maybe this is just a little off topic, but Christmas films in general, you don't find many holidays where there is an entire genre devoted to that specific holiday. The closest thing that I can think of as far as that goes is Halloween. And even then, it's not that the entire genre of horror is dedicated to Halloween. It's just that all of those movies are fair game when you're trying to celebrate Halloween.
Yeah.
But it's not always about Halloween itself. You get a few films like Halloween, like Hocus Pocus, but for the most part, it's just about terror and gore.
Halloween Town.
You got Halloween Town.
But point taken.
I worked with the director of photography in Halloween Town once.
Is that right?
Yeah, you did too, actually.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think not only is it the most popular, but it's kind of the only one. It's kind of the only, so much so that other films about holidays are often named after the holiday.
Groundhog's Day,
Yep.
Independence Day,
Halloween,
Valentine's Day,
Ides of March.
Yeah, Ides of March.
Is that a holiday?
Just a season in politics, maybe, and in the Roman Empire. I don't know.
Here's what I think. And let's unpack it. Let's just go ahead and unpack it. Here's what I think. I think that Christmas is the most successful religion ever invented. And I don't mean Christianity.
Okay.
I mean Christmas is the religion. I think it's the religion of consumerism.
You package it, sell it.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I think along with it, you package, along with all the consumer demands, you package with it these feel-good feelings, these feelings of happiness and forgiveness and familial love and miracles. And then you get all of the beautiful iconography of snow on fir trees and glistening lights and the sounds of the jingles of bells. And I think that in this way, it's been turned into a true religion where people like the feeling so much, and then they know that in order to continue to feel that feeling, they have to go out and spend hundreds of dollars every year and buy things for people, whether people want those things or not.
I feel like there was a point in time, though, where it wasn't like that. And that delineation marker was sometime after Home Alone. I feel like the film that Chris Columbus was trying to make was a film that called back to a time when Christmas wasn't just about consumerism. It wasn't just about getting things that you wanted on Christmas morning. It was about spending time with your family. It was about goodwill towards your fellow men. It was the Ebenezer Scrooge, Jesus of Nazareth, Charles
Grodin
kind of stuff. You know, this season where you appreciate what you have and you spend time with your family and you give to those who have less than you. And I feel like at some point it became less about that and more about, I can't wait to see what I get Christmas morning.
Now, how do you think that that pairs with all of the intellectual properties and all of the movies and songs, especially most Christmas songs originated in the mid 20th century. So what was it about that season? Even then in the 1950s, clearly Christmas was a very potent feeling for people. There's a million Christmas songs, and there are really very few other songs outside of hymnals for other major holidays.
I mean, I think there were much stronger religious ties to the holiday back in the 1950s.
But there aren't a whole bunch of movies or songs about Easter.
This is true. Although you're talking about somebody getting nailed to a cross.
Yeah, but he died for our sins. I mean, isn't that a good thing or something?
It feels a lot more dismal than the savior of humanity being born.
I would have to agree.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I mean, there's a lot of songs about walking in a winter wonderland and all that are much more secular, that aren't so devotional. I think Christmas has been a cultural phenomenon that hasn't been so closely or immediately tied to the Christian traditions for decades.
It definitely feels like a secular holiday for me, but I still take a lot of the, I don't know, like the things that I get out of Christmas and the things that I enjoy about it is spending time with the people that I love and just taking time to remember to, be grateful for them and all of these people that you have in your life, and to think more kindly on those. That is the moral of the story of A Christmas Carol, and It's a Wonderful Life. It's not about what can I get? I can't wait to wake up on Christmas morning. It's about what can I do for others? How can I make other people's lives better in some way?
But I don't think this really gets to the question of why there are so many Christmas movies. I mean, I'm glad you feel that way, and I hope a lot of other people do too, but at some point we're just talking about how we feel about Christmas.
Yes, this is something that I've come to in my old age, and I will say that my attachment...
You are quite old.
I am pretty old. I'm getting pretty old. But I do think it's tied to this excitement you get when you're a kid. You can't buy your own stuff. This is the one time of the year that a magical figure is going to show up and give you all of these things that you've been dreaming about the entire year. That never happens. And that is a magical experience for children. And I think people who value nostalgia in particular have some strong ties to those memories in particular.
Yeah.
That's sort of what the movies maybe try to tap into, even if it's a lot more superficial than that. I think that's what Home Alone tries to tap into. You know, even the song John Williams wrote, Somewhere in My Memory, it's just a bunch of gibberish about feelings you get at Christmas, you know, chestnuts, spending time with your family.
How do you think that people feel? I mean, we're from the bitter north, of course. So all of the imagery associated with classic Christmas, we know, we live it, right?
Yes.
You can celebrate Christmas by looking out the window and it feels just the same as it does in the movies.
Yep.
But for all of the folks in the Western world who celebrate Christmas as much as we do, but who live among palm trees or in the desert or whatever, how do you think their experience differs? Do you think that they feel more removed, more distant from that? Do you think that it has the same connotations? I mean, we know that they celebrate, but it's got to be a different experience being, you know, in the bright sun.
I don't know about people who've lived there their entire lives. I have heard people who've moved out there. They say they miss the seasons. I don't know if Christmas feels less magical to those people. Maybe some people who enjoy the snow, but if you don't like snow because it actually is unpleasant, then I don't know if that would detract from your Christmas experience so much. You know, you don't have to shovel the driveway anymore, but you still get to enjoy Jesus in a manger and Santa Claus coming down your chimney and you get a bunch of presents.
Those two guys, the super friends, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
right there with Jack Frost.
Saint Nick, by the way, his whole thing, he's a saint.
I think he killed people or something.
You're Greek Orthodox, right?
I don't want to get into it.
Okay. Suffice it to say, Saint Nick, bad dude before he turned.
I think he was
story of redemption.
I think he's one of these guys who, like, if Kirk Cameron tells it right, he basically was this guy who's like, you're not celebrating Christmas the way I want you to. I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And then he would take a club and be like Christmas, and he would beat them in the face. If they didn't admit to liking Christmas, they would get, you know, like basically like the Salem witch trials for Christmas.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's honestly great. I mean, that may have had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Instill the fear in a people until they love what you've made them celebrate.
Yeah. And then show them why your vision of the world is better than they could have ever imagined.
Until they see it as if it was their own.
Exactly.
Look, honey, the kids are exhausted. You are exhausted. There's absolutely nothing more that we can do in this airport. Now, I say we go over to Rob's, and that way we can call the police again, and they can get back to us.
Peter, Kevin is home all by himself. I'm not leaving here unless it's on an airplane.
What do you think compelled all three of the McCallister brothers to have so damn many kids?
Catholic.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that's probably it. They're probably Catholic. Despite what I said, back in the day, I think maybe they're all Catholic.
What did you say back in the day?
Well, I didn't think it was a Catholic church that Kevin went to, is what it was. I didn't think it was a Catholic church, but he wouldn't go to a church that wasn't his own. So, you got Kate too, the red hair. I don't want to, just assume that she's Catholic because she looks Irish, but, or Scottish, but probably.
Yeah, that tracks. That tracks.
Are any Christians in America Anglican? Are there any subscribers to the Anglican Church in America? You have to be English to do that?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'm just a humble and meek Wisconsinian.
I'm just going to throw it out here right now. I think Peter drinks a lot.
Okay.
The entire opening sequence, I'm fairly certain Peter is plastered. And I think he does a good job covering it.
Yeah, he can stand on 2 feet. He doesn't slur his words, but he's drinking. It's the holidays.
You look at his eyes, you can see the glaze in them. And maybe that's not Peter. Maybe that's John Hurt, because I know that actor also drank a lot, maybe on set.
Here's your voltage adapter. Do you think Kate drinks?
I think Kate drinks a little, but I think Kate is the traditional type of mother who probably takes on more of the parenting responsibilities than the father does. We have spent a lot of time, I think, on this show talking about how we don't think Peter is a great father necessarily, or even a great husband. And maybe there's not enough evidence to convince us of that. We see Peter...
To convict.
We see Peter, first of all, our intro to him, he is a working guy just on vacation from whatever job it is that maintains this mansion in Winnetka.
Drunk.
I've got to imagine he got home from work that day and said, Christmas vacation has begun. Frank's coming in from Ohio. I need to get drunk.
Start cracking those buds.
Yes, exactly. So I think he's a big drinker, but I don't, and he seems a little aloof in the first few scenes in a way that he doesn't later on in the film. You do get the sense on the plane when Kate is just going over the things that she thinks she forgot. And you very much get the sense that Peter is just annoyed he has to entertain this. I don't get the sense that that is him being a negligent husband, though I do think it comes across that way. I think it's very much that Kate is usually the more responsible one when it comes to managing the family. And when you are in that position, you always think you're forgetting something. And Peter is the one who just has to be there every day saying, it's okay. You know, you did it.
Peter's not the worrier. He's not the worrying type.
Yeah.
He was the one who's like, think positive, Frank.
Exactly.
He's not one to really buckle under pressure or get too stressed. He kind of seems like a go with the flow sort of guy.
Yeah.
And I think that if we've spoken in the past about his parenting style or tendencies or whatever, I don't remember everything we say on this show. I'm just going to admit it. But I think that there is probably a personality trait there that could possibly be well appreciated by a family of 5 kids.
Yeah.
Maybe dad's the one who doesn't freak out about stuff so much, or maybe he sort of keeps the pot from boiling over.
I think once they get to Paris, he is the one who's keeping his eye on the big picture. Kate is only thinking about Kevin. Kate is, I left him home alone. I have to get back there. And Peter's like, we have 4 other kids and they're all in Paris with us.
Right.
They can't all go back to Chicago today with us. And they can't all sit in the airport with us. The thing he suggests is let's go back to Rob's place so the police can get back to us. Honey, the kids are exhausted. You are exhausted. We can't just stay here at this airport. That's not impractical advice.
No.
And that's advice that I think somebody is giving to someone who is in a state of crisis, who's in a state of panic.
Yeah, I actually don't think that Peter really ever comes across as a negligent husband or an uncaring husband. I think that there's some fire and ice there, but I always get the impression that their chemistry is good. They understand each other.
They work well together.
You don't see them getting upset with each other.
Yeah.
And I think when Kate gets really exasperated, Peter doesn't respond in kind.
No.
He's there to absorb that and to be supportive and calm back. So I think that they're different in a lot of ways, but I think they complement each other.
Yeah, they both feel very much like responsible adults, despite the fact that they left their kid home alone in Chicago.
Right. They're doing the best they can. They at least care. I think the big picture thing, too, is a good point, because as we see, he's not freaking out. Peter's not in full-on crisis mode.
He's still trying to help.
He's in problem-solving mode, but he's not allowing himself to lose his mind over it.
Yes.
And his plan ultimately gets the entire family home at the exact same time
as Kate,
but with just a lot less crisis.
He keeps a really level head in terms of like, okay, here's what we're capable of doing. And he really shoulders the burden of being the parent for the rest of the family while Kate does this, because he realizes that she has to get back to the United States and they're not all going to get back there. So let me do what I can to make sure she knows the rest of the family's taken care of. And I'm doing what I can from here. I also really love this scene where they come back in, the family show. Okay, Kate and Kevin have been reunited. They're so happy to be together. Where's the rest of the family? And then all of a sudden they burst through the door.
Couldn't come. They wanted to.
They burst through the door. The first thing Peter says is, Kevin, my boy, are you okay? I love you.
Yeah.
He wanted Kevin to know we didn't leave you here on purpose. We have been dying to get back to you, and we still love you. And we want you to know that as soon as we get through the door.
Yeah. He's not going to grovel.
No.
But he does make a point.
Yes. He's also, the entire family is impressed that Kevin has managed to survive on his own. And when he went grocery shopping, what a funny guy.
Yeah.
What else did you do while we were away? He really is impressed. Like, not only am I telling you, like, I'm glad we're all back together, Kevin, but man, you really stepped up these last few days. And that means something coming from a parent, I think.
That's right. And I think as soon as they roll back into that house, Peter is wandering back into the kitchen and cracking a beer.
I tell you what, if that had been the last few days I'd gone through, I'd be getting drunk on Christmas, okay? I'm glad I'm back with my family. Let's watch It's a Wonderful Life. We'll enjoy Christmas, but I am gonna be drunk.
So there is one story. We talked a little bit about John Hurd here today, and I feel like we kind of tried to give him the shine, but frankly, we don't know a whole lot about him. We don't know him from a ton of his work. There is this story, though, that John Hurt, not to be confused with John Hurd, has told, and it's sort of a legendary tale of John Hurt's career. Now, I don't know if this is apocryphal or if it's been exaggerated or what exactly happened, but the story that John Hurt told a number of times when he was alive was he, also working stage and movie actor, had been cast in a film called Zulu Dawn. Ever heard of it?
I have not heard of that.
I haven't seen it. He was to play a character in Zulu Dawn. It was filming in South Africa, but he received a call shortly before he left to travel to South Africa that he was barred from entering the country. So the South African government had apparently confused John Hurt with American actor John Hurd, who apparently was quite a vocal critic of apartheid.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that about John Hurd. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And so South Africa had blacklisted Hurd as an activist, and Hurt became collateral damage just due to mistaken identity. Now, what's particularly interesting about this is because he had to cancel appearing in Zulu Dawn, he was freed up, and that ultimately led to him being cast in a little Ridley Scott film called Alien.
I've seen that one. I've seen Alien.
I had bet you had.
It's a pretty solid film.
And I mean, that's like a defining role in John Hurt's career.
Yeah.
So
there aren't many people who get to have an alien burst out of their chest in a way that doesn't involve CG. And John Hurt is one of those guys.
So look, I mean, John Hurd maybe didn't get into out of his career that he had hoped, but in his way, in his personal life or in his public life outside of his career, being an activist or being a vocal critic of something that he thought was unethical or immoral, ultimately led to a huge accidental career breakthrough for somebody else in the industry.
One of the greatest performances of one of the best sci-fi films ever made.
Amen.
And that's John Hurd that did that.
John Hurd made that happen for John Hurt. So you never know what those little ripples in the pond of life are going to lead to, Jimmy. You just never know. So throw a pebble and see.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Is Peter McCallister your favorite character in Home Alone?
Absolutely. He always has been. He always will be by a mile. Peter McCallister. If the movie had no other characters, for me, it's Pete.
Peter McCallister. I love you.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks for being on the show. And thanks for you being on the show too, Jimmy.
You're welcome.
Merry Christmas.
Hey, you know what?
What?
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, man. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, bong, bong, bong. Sleigh bells ring. I don't know.
I hate when people sing.
Broadcast live from our studio in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, The Long Road Home Alone is hosted by Jimmy Dantes and Joey Z, and produced by Pat Muldoon. Be sure to tune in next time. Don't forget your reading glasses. And keep the change, you filthy animals.